I'm a big believer in lifelong learning. If we challenge ourselves to learn new things all the time, socially and business-wise, it keeps your mind active, it keeps your mind hungry.
If you go in there thinking you know all the answers, you're just not going to get the respect. Just go in there and say, I'm here to understand. I need to do more of that.
Hi, my name is Jason Davenport. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of the Chartered Institute of Payroll Professionals. We have 7,000 members, and this is my Duvet flip.
What does it mean to understand your payslip?
What I would love is just at a glance, people can go,
what are some of the highlights of being in the payroll industry?
I just found as a career, it's always been diverse.
You've been a founder, you obviously now run a fantastic organisation. What's your long life learnings been?
If you think you can achieve, then you're already 50% there. If you think you can win, you're already there. I think just really being positive and embracing life. This isn't a dress rehearsal.
I know this one is. We're doing it again in a minute. Well, final question for you. What flips you duvet in the morning to get out of bed?
Payroll's often thought of as a job that people fall into rather than choosing to be in. And that's probably the case for many people, but something keeps those people in the industry. At some point, it becomes a choice.
It was often said to me that I was in the right place at the right time, but I know that I was stood there with many other people alongside me, and what I did was I took a step forward. If you're in a payroll position right now, learn as much as you can, move out of your comfort zone, and take every opportunity to add to your skill set.
If you want to be around people who are dedicated to their profession and you want to learn, then maybe, just maybe, payroll's for you.
Jason, welcome to my Duvet flip. I've just been so excited to have you on because we've had a cup of tea. We've been following each other. Like, I feel like I know you, and you pop up on LinkedIn with something exciting going on. But you know what? When I met you, I get to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
Some you remember, some you don't. Some people just have something that just makes you full of joy, and you was one of those individuals.
Great.
Because you care about your industry.
Yeah.
You care about people, and you're just a nice human.
Well, thank you for that, Jack. But absolutely, I really do care, and that's what I want to get across for everybody that's reviewing this recording and take an opportunity to see what we've got to say today. Because I think payroll is a fantastic career choice that has never been mentioned in any careers fair, any careers view that I'm aware of, and so it's about putting it on the map.
And now you've just dubbed me in because we say this is live. Joking. So I just want to start at the beginning. Like, let's talk about your first payslip.
Yeah.
Where did you get your first payslip from? Who gave it to you? What company? And if Jason was looking back talking to young Jason, what would he be telling him about work?
Great question, Jack, and multifaceted there, yeah. I think some of the key pieces that I'd be saying to myself is believe in yourself, always back yourself and trust your instincts, be prepared to go the extra mile, because what I've found is a lot of people had said to me going through my career, oh, you've been lucky. I think luck has got an element to do for everybody, that luck plays a part, but actually being prepared to step forward is a big part of that. You know, when opportunities come your way, lots of people shrink back, don't know how to take the opportunity. For me, it was always about stepping forward and saying, yeah, I'll have a go at that. I'll give you an example, if you don't mind. Worked in UK payroll all my career, but the first opportunity for international payroll was the business I was working for. They turned around and said, we've got a deal going on with Coca-Cola Enterprises. We need to understand Netherlands, France and Belgium in terms of their payroll and need to set up service areas there. Who knows anything about any of those areas? I didn't put my hand up and said, I'm willing to learn. And the next week I was in Paris. And the next week I was with a French team, understanding how they delivered service. And then I subcontracted in Belgium because we just weren't able to build there. But each of those was breaking new ground for the business that I worked in, exploring and just being excited about the opportunity rather than too fearful and not stepping forward, you know? An interesting fact about me is I once worked security detail for Princess Diana.
Have you ever been fearful, and have you ever anywhere in your career that you didn't step forward and you should have? Have you ever regretted anything in your career?
I like to think that I don't have any regrets, but there's certainly been times when I've been fearful. One of the first businesses I joined in an outsourced capacity, one of the clients was really struggling with the year end and meeting all the financial reconciliation. I was asked to go down, and the financial controller was a big bear of a man who was very overbearing. I'd say here very much a bully, and all of his team were in fear of him. And I sat down with the team and I went through the reconciliation, and there was just no way I could get this to work. But my father has always said to me, whatever you do is character building. And so knowing that I was about to face this guy and knowing his reputation, I simply went in with the facts. I knew I had the facts collected. I knew there were gaps and I needed to explain those gaps to him. And it was one of those moments where it's kind of, don't really want to be doing this, but you've got to step through the door and you've got to do it, and worked it through. At the time, it wasn't very pleasant as an experience. Some years later, I heard that individual had been jailed for fraudulent activity. So actually his bullying had been to mask and to cover up behaviours that had been going on, and that's why I could never reconcile the payrolls as they were.
Taking that experience, how does one deal with a bully in the workplace? Because if you've got a job and you work for a big company and you fear this bully and they're your manager, and you know what? A lot of people are living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah.
They fear, they don't want to step out of line, and also a lot of young people don't know any different from one manager. If it's their first manager, what is your advice to the next generation to deal with a bully?
I think first of all, as you've just mentioned there, it's about identification. If you feel and if your instinct is telling you this behaviour isn't right, this behaviour is going over the line, if it feels like it's becoming toxic to you, then you've got choices that are available to you. First of all, is there somebody within the employment base that you can speak to? Is there someone you can go to and get advice and just share? Because it could be that there's others that are feeling in the same way, and just nobody's spoken out yet. But they're big and tough steps to take. I appreciate and I understand that backing yourself against somebody who might be much more senior is a difficult step to take. But it is part of acting within a workplace. But you know what? There's also the bigger decision that if it is toxic and too toxic, step away, because your own health, your own well-being is so important. And so I started work back in the 80s, Jack, and I worked in construction. So I've had things thrown at me much stronger than words.
I can imagine on the construction
site, and those guys know when the penny when the
and they
the
know how to
correct.
throw.
Yeah, a joiner's got a lot of strength in those arms. Yeah, but sometimes it's the right thing to step away for your own sanity.
And stepping away means what?
Means find another job.
Leaving.
Means leaving. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and don't be. Again, it's sometimes people stay because they're fearful of what else is out there and maybe not getting something else, but actually it could be the absolute catalyst to something so much better. Working within the construction industry, where I first got the opportunity to work in payroll, with all the civil rule agreements, with the different working type agreements, and it was actually pre-computerized, so it's doing everything by hand, so tax, national insurance tables and the rest of it, so really learnt it from the grassroots up.
So how did that used to work? So you used to typing it, so you used to write it out, and then that would go to where?
Yeah, so I wish I'd built a museum, if you like, because some of the artifacts from the past within the construction industry, we used to have tin templates that everybody's name would be pressed into the tin, then their works number pressed. We'd run those plates through a machine that had carbonised paper and that would create the payslip. So you'd end up with 3 copies of the payslip. So you'd have that starting point with name and with works number, and then you'd handwrite the hours that they'd work, the different agreements that they might be getting paid, extra allowances, etc.
Wow.
Then you build out the tax tables, you build out the national insurance due, anything else like pension deductions. That'd go off to a comptometer, come back to us, and Jack, this is how old I am. Then we build the payslips in cash. So you'd actually be putting notes and pence and all that into the cash payslips for handing out, yeah.
So 3 payslips, one goes to the employee, one goes to the employer, and one goes to the tax office.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
Wow, so you are literally Mr. President.
Back in the day.
The founding father.
So we've seen computers come along and help improve that and speed it up and make it more efficient, you know, sometimes.
And did you ever get it wrong? Did you ever pay someone an extra zero?
Oh gosh. There have been mistakes in the past, that does happen. I'm very pleased to say that, you know, we used to deliver 100% accuracy week in, week out. And actually you were so conscientious of that all the time, because you know that makes an impact to an individual's pay. And if you do get it wrong, which happens, it's how quick you have to act to make sure that that individual isn't made worse by the fact that you've got it wrong. So correcting it, and as quickly as possible, as fast as possible, is super important.
So say I worked for you and you paid me and I had an extra 2 zeros added to the end of it.
Yeah.
What is my responsibility as an employee?
So your responsibility is to recognise what you should be paid. And that's where, from a financial well-being perspective, I want to do much more and reach much further than our membership, you know, out to the broader community, because actually a lot of people see the net pay and just go, yeah, that looks similar to what I got last month, looks similar to what I got the period before, and are happy with that without understanding all of the details that goes into building up your payslip. And it's a really important point. And my working thesis is that a lot of individuals will come back home and say to mum and dad, can you tell me if that payslip's right? And they go, whoa, is that what you expect to get paid? Yeah, that's correct. Rather than, you know, it's a legal document and a binding document, and it's really important that it's calculated correctly. An interesting fact around CIPP, we gained our Royal Charter back in 2011, and we have 7,000 members. But I know that there's more than 100,000 people involved in payroll out in the UK today, and that's who I really want to reach, to make sure that they understand there's a chartered body that's there for them.
Why do you believe that we're still living right now in today's age, and we see it, thousands of youth that come and get jobs with us each year, they don't know how to read their payslip?
I think it's because of financial awareness starts at school, and through that period we ought to be doing so much more to help new generations understanding your payslip as one element of work, but understanding banking arrangements, credit facilities, the big things that happen when you leave school and you start work, or you leave higher education, or when you're in higher education, of course, because you might be in accommodation, you've got all the things that you've got going on there to have to factor into things. But that education and that financial awareness, I think, starts, you know, it should start a lot sooner than it does. And I feel as though I have a duty to drive that forward as well, as part of embarking upon a number of different projects to try and bring that awareness to as many students as we can.
Well, we're going to try and give it a go, aren't we?
Yeah, we absolutely are, that's right.
So, what does it mean to understand your payslip in a sentence? What does that actually mean? What would I be saying, whether I understand it or whether no, I don't understand it?
Right. In a nutshell, what I would like for everybody is that each individual has a tax allowance. As they leave school, they have a tax allowance of £12,500 a year. You can earn £12,500 a year in employment. That's spread across the year, so it approximates to £1,000 a month that you can earn tax-free. And then after that, there are tax bandings. So you go into 20%, you go into 40%, etc. And there's national insurance deductions that are set at different rates. What I would love is just at a glance, people can go, my tax code looks correct because I'm single and that's the allowance I should get. my pay and what tax has been deducted looks like 20% from it, national insurance paid, pension paid at 5%, whatever. That looks right. For me, that would be just a super step forward that people can feel confident and go, yeah, that looks like I've been paid correctly. That's in there. It looks like the deductions are correct. Because you know what? I know people talk negatively about tax, but what a fantastic contribution we all make to the countries that we live in. You know, tax in its various forms, it helps generate, it's everybody's contribution to society.
The police, everything, isn't it?
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
So I would love that just as a, right out the bat, that people feel confident that, yeah, that looks right. I think there's so many that aren't confident and don't question. So that's part of the mantra to change.
But I'm a young person, as you can see, but there's younger people than me as well. If I'm 21 and I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, yeah, but why do I want that money?
Yeah.
What do you do then? And why? Because why is pensions? Why should you stay opt in?
Yeah. Pensions are so important, and I can only sit here and tell you, Jack, time flies. As someone who is less young, time absolutely flies. So if you've been part of a pension pot, you've started to save early, from as early as you can.
What's the difference between starting at 21 compared to 30? Is that a huge difference? Because I'm a big believer to anyone that I meet. They ask me about pensions, and I'm not the expert. I know a bit about pensions, and I go, start as soon as you can.
Yeah, just the earlier you can, even if it's on a small percentage. It's the ability, the annuity and the compound interest and the way that builds up over time that really creates the pot value. So as you earn more, you contribute more. Typically on a percentage basis, you will contribute more, and so it'll build. So the younger you are, maybe you're not earning as much, but you've started that. The fact is that money each year generates its own interest and builds.
Tell me a little bit about, what are some of the highlights of being in the payroll industry that you wouldn't get? Why, because when I met you,
yes,
you was like, Jack, this industry is so exciting. You can build a fantastic career in it. Why is it a good industry?
So for me personally, I just found as a career and a career of choice, it's always been diverse. It's allowed me opportunity to take on management roles. It's allowed me opportunity to learn the whole technical and legislation side of payroll, which is forever changing. There are many, many different pieces of legislation that go through every year, and there are white papers that are asked of. You know, we're seeing CIPP are a trusted advisor to HMRC, and we work with them and consult with them over things that they're thinking about, and then contribute to white papers to help to fashion that thinking. But regardless of today, throughout my career, the opportunity of wanting to learn all the time, wanting to learn new things, new industries. Every payroll is different in each industry that you serve. So, you know, finance industry is very different to pharmaceuticals, very different to public sector and how they're paid. So there's lots of different learnings across that. And also, I would always support anybody who wanted to travel and who had the opportunity to travel through business. Take that opportunity. If you're traveling for pleasure and it's a holiday, you see a certain side of the country that you're visiting. If you travel through business, obviously it's being paid for by the business that you're working for, so great.
That's a good start,
that's
isn't
on their
it?
tickets. That absolutely is on their tickets. But it broadens your mind to different cultures, to how people do things in other countries. Again, throughout my career, if I think about it, I've had the opportunity to work out in Granada in Spain, in Paris in France, I've mentioned, in Rome, in Italy, out in New York, Atlanta, California, in America. I've worked in a number of sites in India because I set up shared service centres there. So in Mumbai, in Hyderabad, in Kochi, and also spent quite a bit of time out in the Philippines, in Manila. And each and every one of those has provided really rich experience. And when you see those different cultures, you get to understand much more about them. And wow, you know, when you have weekend, you might be out for a month somewhere and you're working all week. When individuals are willing to give up their time at the weekend to take you around, show you places, I think that means you've made a real connection. And I have to say, from every one of my experiences working in different countries, it's enabled me more. It's given me more of a view and a broader view of the world at large.
I love that, and I love what you've said there around go into whatever you're doing to understand.
Yeah, yeah.
Because if you go in there thinking you know all the answers, then you're just not going to get the respect. And especially when you're junior and you're young.
Yeah.
Just, okay, it doesn't matter if you don't know anything. It doesn't matter. Just go in there and say, I'm here to understand.
Yeah, absolutely, Jack. That's it.
Great advice.
Yeah.
It's absolutely great advice. I need to do more of that.
Another piece around that, Jack, is I'm a big believer in lifelong learning. If we challenge ourselves to learn new things all the time, whatever that might be, socially and business-wise, it keeps your mind active, it keeps your mind hungry. It also shows respect for those different things that you may be learning at that time. So I think always be inquisitive, because that helps you grow. So, back to the point about asking the questions, we're all learning all the time, and one of my mantras is every day is a school day, because you always learn something new each day. An interesting fact around the payroll industry is that payroll professionals across the UK during the last financial year have collected more than £400 billion in income tax and national insurance. And that is what helps central government make the decisions to keep the UK going.
And what was the last thing that you learned about the industry? Put you on the spot there.
Oh gosh, you have, Jack.
This is the test, the exam teacher.
Yeah.
But what is something you've learned? Where's your perspective and your mind's changed recently on the industry? Because I totally agree. Long life learning.
Yeah.
Don't think you have all the answers. And when you think you know something, you meet something, like you said, difference is difference. It doesn't mean it's bad or worse off. You go and do something, and then you're introduced to a whole new point of view, right?
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I've been looking at it this way, but actually, by just turning your head a little bit, you see it in a whole new way.
Yeah.
Or something that you've seen in the industry recently.
But a really big topic and a big piece that's come in. Typically, these things start in America. So I was out in the Nashville conference recently, and what was heavily talked about there is AI. And the way that AI is evolving, and generative AI and ChatGPT, etc. And again, I would say I've seen technology phases over the years, and it's about how we embrace that then, how we embrace it to make our lives easier, how we embrace it to improve what we do. It will evolve. I think it needs to evolve more. It needs to move on from making stuff up. I'm aware that if ChatGPT doesn't know it, it might just introduce some law that...
I did some research on you before you came, and I asked ChatGPT to find it, and it said you was a ballerina dancer.
Only on a Sunday. Only on a Sunday, yeah.
It's true though, isn't it? It's so AI. Do you think so far has the industry adopted AI well? Is it still trying to figure it out? Because some industries have ran in, and you go onto every single bloody website of every company, like even Greg's. You go on, I'm joking, but you probably could go on Greg's and it's got the AI Belgian bun or something, and like pick it for AI. But AI's always been there. It's just come to more of a forefront. Has the industry adopted it well, or do you think there's a lot more to be done?
So I think there's a lot more to be done. I think it's evolving, and it's evolving at a steady pace. So you've got the likes of the chatbots that can be used where it's answering frequently asked questions within a software program. That's a typical use, if you like. But more generatively and build into the future, there needs to be a lot more information that supports AI, that gives it its technical credence, that then can be used further. So I think there's a way to go.
Across your career, you've been a founder. You obviously now run a fantastic organisation doing fantastic stuff for 7,000 members.
Yes. Yeah.
What's your long life learning's been? Like something that it's really stuck with you. You've talked about long life learning, but what's one form of a soundbite or someone said once that has been really important to your world of work and you want to pass on to the next generation, the 30 pluses on LinkedIn and anyone else? What's your kind of life tip?
So I'd like this to be really meaningful and have a lot of depth to it, and it may only sound quite simple. But I think if you're positive in your outlook, if you're positive in every experience that you encounter, good or bad, because bad experiences are good to learn from, good experiences help you grow. And both do that, don't they? But I think being positive and always looking for opportunity is one of my lifelong learnings. I always used to be told by my father, no matter what I was coming up against, it's character building, yeah? But it's also how you look at that. If you think you can achieve, then you're already 50% there. If you think you can win, you're already there. If you think you're going to be able to have the goods and go all the way, if you think you can't, you've already put yourself on the back step.
I agree.
Yeah, so I think just really being positive and embracing life. That we're, you know, this isn't a dress rehearsal. We only have a short time here.
I know this one is. We're doing it. We're doing it again in a minute. No, you're totally right, isn't it? I always say life is big, time is short, and make the most of it. And I've seen that in you, being positive. I think it's so. You know what? People can be really boring sometimes, and you know what? Just go in, have fun. Obviously, take what you're doing seriously, but also have fun on the way. Look how much we've laughed on this show. Do you know what I mean? But while educating the next generation and talking about your story, I think it's so important because you know what? Boring people can go off and do whatever they want to do in the corner, right? And the fun people can eat my Maltesers. Because I'm a big Malteser fan.
I'll be getting the next bag.
There you go. Just finishing off, what out of all this, because you're looking at your career, you've been quite steady with an industry, you've been quite successful. Yeah. What do you think has made this success happen? Like, you've got your fantastic wife, you've got 3 kids, you're traveling the world, you're obviously from Liverpool, you've always had a positive outlook. All the interactions I've had with you and the research that I've done, what is your little ingredients? You know, they never tell you about the KFC chicken.
Yes.
Like, what is your ingredients that's made your career successful and made you you?
So I think, Jack, consistency. So I've consistently been a hard worker. I've consistently worked at what I've done. My brother is a surgeon, and he could have chosen the path of medicine or music. He's actually a fantastic musician, plays double bass, and enjoys building violins, would you believe? But that's another story. But he chose his path, and is
he older or younger?
He's younger than me, yeah, my younger brother. And that consistency I feel that I have is throughout our family. And so I've become expert, as you've mentioned. I've become a leader in that because I stuck at what I was good at, what I enjoyed as well, which is really important. So I really enjoy payroll. I really enjoy the industry that's around me. And so when we have our conference, you know, there is that element of learning, there is that element of education, but there is absolutely that element of fun because we're here to have fun together. Yeah?
I love that. And I just want to say, like, I've really enjoyed this so far, and I've enjoyed getting to know you a little bit because I think you're just a really good human. Final question for you. Are you ready for this? Because this is a really important question.
Okay.
What flips your duvet in the morning to get out of bed?
What flips my duvet? I have a drive to make change. I have a real desire to, beyond the CIPP, we have 7,000 members. I think there are tens of thousands more members that should get involved and help to educate themselves and be aware of it. I think there are many more that ought to choose payroll as a career. But beyond that as well, a real drive for financial awareness for those that need that. So I think there's fundamental change that needs to happen to help every individual going through school and leaving to be aware, and that will help with their well-being.
I can see that. There's so much opportunity to create such a larger movement than CIPP have already done, right? Yeah. And you're at the forefront at that with your brilliant team to say, okay, how do we go from 7 7,000 members to 10,000 members, and how do we go from 140,000 people in the industry to 200,000? So I'm good with numbers, you know, I picture memory. But I just want to say, look, thank you for spending your time coming to London. I know you parked your big yacht in the River Thames out there. You might have a ticket, but I just want to say thank you for spending time and just like really breaking down what the payroll industry is, a little bit about your career. And I love that we've embarked on this partnership together, because we are going to make a difference, and we are going to get people on the phone, and we are going to actually get more people into the industry, and that is your and mine commitment. So thank you.
Cheers, Jack. Brilliant. Thank you very much.
Payroll's often thought of as a job that people fall into rather than choosing to be in. And that's probably the case for many people, but something keeps those people in the industry. At some point, it becomes a choice.
It was often said to me that I was in the right place at the right time, but I know that I was stood there with many other people alongside me, and what I did was I took a step forward. If you're in a payroll position right now, learn as much as you can, move out of your comfort zone, and take every opportunity to add to your skill set.
If you want to be around people who are dedicated to their profession and you want to learn, then maybe, just maybe, payroll's for you.